Alright, what's up? Welcome back to another video. So, literally as of about 2 hours ago, Apple just had their event, it's Glow Time, and there's some new stuff. There's definitely some letdowns, but there's also some cool stuff. So let's hop right into it. Now, essentially, we got new AirPods Max, but it's just colors, right? So there's new colors. I guess, there thankfully is a new USB-C port, which is fine, it's whatever. There's no power off button yet. Now, on the track of AirPods, there's the new AirPods 4th generation, and I think they're all right. They look very similar to the AirPods 3rd generation. They have a bit of a new grill, I guess, on the top. It's, on the top of the AirPods. It's black. I mean, it's whatever. But no, they look fairly the same. But funny enough, there's actually two variations of the AirPods 4th generation. The first one is just regular AirPods 4, and they go for about $129. But then there's a active noise cancellation and transparency version, which actually goes for $179, which, awesome. I guess it would be interesting to see how well it actually works, seeing as there's no silicone tips on the actual devices themselves. And of course, USB-C on the bottoms of the new charging cases, which of course is always appreciated. Now, I think the most interesting part is actually AirPods are now going to be able to be used for not only hearing tests, but also straight up hearing aids, which is coming in a software update to AirPods Pro second generation as well, which is very interesting. Like that's a lot to pack into a software update. But it'll be very cool to see how Apple sort of implements that. But that's awesome that they are getting that use now. But that's really AirPods fourth generation. Nothing crazy. Some mainly software is going to be what really makes these shine. But that's kind of that. So the Apple Watch Ultra 2 was another one of those scenarios where it's like we could get a third generation, or Apple could just wait another year before releasing the third generation. And they sort of chose kind of in the middle of those. And instead we got a 2.5 generation, where really the only difference is a new black color, which don't get me wrong, it's an amazing black color, but that is really about it. There's nothing else. But we will also give credit. There is a new band, which I am excited to kind of play around with and look at because it looked like it was a nice material. And then on sort of the subject of Apple Watches, the Apple Watch Series 10. Now, people were wondering what it's going to be called. It is just the Series 10. There's no X anywhere, either in text or verbally. And Apple sort of exaggerated it a little bit. They were like this awesome new design. It's not that new. They made it thinner. We've got a new jet black color, which is awesome because the last time we saw jet black was like the iPhone 7 Plus. We got some new bands, and the watch is still aluminum, but it's like a polished aluminum, so it does look awesome. I mean, I'll give it that. It's definitely cool. But for the most part, nothing's really changed with it. Nothing crazy, at least. Now, the speaker design's changed a little bit. It looks a little different on the outside and also on the inside. And they did make the screen larger. I believe it's like taller and wider or whatever. And so the bezels are thinner. They made it where you can see the screen still brighter from like side angles, which kind of useful. But of course, there is also lots of cool software updates, which were announced alongside the Apple Watch Series 10. But for the most part, it's not a crazy Apple Watch. Not as big as I guess we sort of hoped it might would be for a Series 10. It is still cool though, still definitely worth it for lots of people, but just not, don't expect anything insane. All right, now for obviously the part where everyone's kind of been waiting for, the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro. Now, there's a few things to talk about. The updates are not massive, but I do appreciate the small things that we do have. So starting off with the iPhone 16, yeah, no, the photos were correct. It is a vertically aligned camera setup, which is used for the spatial video, and kind of a cool thing. You can actually take spatial photos now. So nice little bonus. So the base model iPhone 16 did also get the action button from the previous 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, but they also got this capture button, which it's not called the capture button, and instead it's called camera control. But it's actually kind of a really cool thing. I'm surprised at the way they sort of implemented it. It is touch sensitive. I don't know for sure if it's a physical clicking button or if it's all haptics, but you can light press it and heavy press it to do different actions inside of not only the native camera app, but also other apps. Like they used Snapchat, for example, in their keynote. but you can do stuff like rub your finger across it to zoom in and zoom out of the camera. So there's a lot of cool things you could do, but then it's like they also shoved all of the camera settings underneath that one little tiny button press, which makes it feel a lot more cramped and less open. So I'm not really sure why they chose to sort of go down that route, but nonetheless, I do think this button can be very useful. Now, something I noticed but haven't really seen other people talk about is the fact that this capture button is now taking up the space for the 5G millimeter wave antenna, and it wasn't located to the other side. So I don't know if they just figured out a way to get it to work without that being there, but it is not there anymore. And so I'm interested to figure out how they relocated that, if they relocated that. We'll have to see. But I mean that's sort of the main stuff for the iPhone 16. We did get some new, thankfully slightly more saturated colors, which include ultramarine, which is a purplish blue color. There's teal, there's pink, there's white, and then there's just black. So decently basic, but thankfully we finally got some saturation back in the blue color. But that's really, I mean, that's mainly the iPhone 16. There's nothing crazy. Of course, there's a few software features that won't be found in the iPhone 15s or older. But now for the iPhone 16 Pros. Now, immediately the first things you'll notice, of course, is the new colors and the new sizes. So if you have a look, the new iPhone 16 Pro comes in a natural titanium color, a desert titanium color, which is the sort of new color of the year, a white titanium color, and a black titanium color. And both models actually do come in new sizes. So the iPhone 15 Pro comes in a 6.3-inch size, while the iPhone 16 Pro Max comes in a 6.9-inch size. Now, of course, all of the iPhone 16s are powered by Apple Intelligence, and this does include the iPhone 16 Pro. But it does also have the same capture button, which is also awesome and welcomed. And I think another one of the cool things, which is just iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max featured, is actually the ability to record cinematic in 120 frames a second for slow motion, which is one of those things where it's like, I don't know the use case in which you would need to be able to record a cinematic video in slow motion on your iPhone. But if you're into that and would like to do that, of course, it is now available for you. All right, now this right here might be the single most awesome feature I think I've ever seen. And it was by far my favorite feature of the whole event. And that is something called audio mixing. Now, inside of the Photos app, when you go to edit a video, you'll see these new preset video options which say standard, in-frame, studio, and cinematic. So basically, each one does something different to the audio. So for example, the studio one almost kind of adds like sound treated walls and makes everything sound very professional. And then in frame only really picks up the voices that are currently in the frame. So if you have a third actor or whoever that's kind of outside, it won't pick up them. And then cinematic adds much more of a movie sounding effect. And that's really that. Now I know, of course, it is the Apple event, and so they're going to make things sound extremely good and probably exaggerate how well it actually works. But if it works near as well as it did in the actual keynote, this might be the best thing of all time. It was so cool to watch. But of course, there's the addition of some smaller things like a new 48 megapixel camera for the ultra wide lens on the 16 Pros, and some more, of course, just software additions like new photographic styles and stuff like that. And then, of course, lastly, it's sort of the processors. Now, interestingly enough, the iPhone 16s actually get an A18 chip, but it's just, I guess, the base model chip, whereas the iPhone 16 Pros get the A18 Pro chip. And so I guess they're doing away with giving the base models, like older chips. So they're all on the same plane, I guess you could say, but then the Pro models get the Pro chip. So a little bit of a difference, but that's really about it. Of course, there are some smaller additions and other things like that. They're software related, but this video was kind of just covering the main stuff. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, as it helps me out a ton. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. So yeah, bye guys.